I've never been nervous.
You've never been nervous?
Never been nervous.
We are live now. Are you nervous now that we're live?
I'm actually shaking in my boots.
Mike, how long have you been playing Smite? How long have you been in SPL? My point in this question is how long have you been in front of cameras?
9 years.
How long did it take you to get used to being in front of cameras?
2 months. Actually, no. My first tournament I did was COG Invitational for them winning Season 1 Worlds. And I was really nervous to meet, like, I guess my peers or whatever, like the other players, all of that. I was super shy and awkward around them until shout outs to the boys, Jeff Hanla and Allied. They like showed me the ropes a little bit.
That's right.
But I did like a guest cast, like my first tournament. And
is that the infamous one?
Oh, no, it is not the it is not the infamous one. I did some play by play and stuff, and you better believe I was going off. It was me and Bart, actually. It was a good time.
I'm nervous for when you decide you're done and you're hanging it up. My job is suddenly under threat. I should probably introduce us. Hi, everyone. Welcome into the Jade Dragons team check-in. I got Mike, Nika, Lasbra, and we're talking about Mike and his potential future caster career. Do you think Mike, of you three, would be the best caster, or do you think one of you two could give him a run for this money?
I think Nika would be good at it as well. I think Las would be a better analyst than caster. Like he's a chair 2 vibe.
Yeah. Would you be? Surely pro players would all be chair 2s, right?
I think I can go both ways.
Yeah. I think I'd prefer to be like the hype man.
Yeah, really?
Hype man.
All right, I'm nervous. You all need to play Smite forever and not put me out of a job. All right, let's talk a little bit about Season 9 before we jump into Season 10. I think you all had similar and maybe different trajectories over the course of Worlds. Mike, I'll start with you. Really close-knit with that Jade Dragons team. Couple changes over the course of a couple of years. Make it to World Semis, goes 5. You guys get knocked out there. Mindset-wise, leaving Worlds, a couple months of downtime. What was the Smite investment levels after Worlds? How that ended? Did it reinvigorate competitive spirit? Was there considerations of stepping away? What was that process like?
I mean, I could give a really long-winded answer to that.
It's easier for me if you do.
Yeah.
Well,
go long.
As long as you want.
I mean, I think the feeling was mutual among a lot of that group. I kind of felt like over the past few off seasons, so I would say like 6 going into 7, 7 into 9, and then 7 into 8, 8 into 9. Skipped a year there. I don't really think I always like fully agreed with like the direction that team wanted to go in that core. And I think it was just a lot of like attachment and trust in Max or PandaCat, of course, because I had played with him for so long, like longer than any other teammate by a mile. And I felt like when I saw his sort of, I don't like hold anything against him by any means, but like when I saw his sort of like energy and his passion kind of like draw back a little bit, and I felt like his mood had kind of shifted more negative. In terms of just like his career, professionalism. I mean, like he never like showed up late to scrims or whatever, but you could just tell like he didn't have that same energy in his voice. And when that happened, it became easier to like distance myself from it, I guess naturally, where I was like, I kind of knew I wanted something different. And in a way it felt freeing. I mean, of course I always want to win, go as far as I can, do as well as I can. But it did feel like over the past few years, it was more me adjusting to everyone else and trying to like give up a lot of control and give up a lot of, I guess like space for everybody else to kind of take over. And I feel like now I have a better idea of like what I want to do, how I want to play, what I want to accomplish, like the way I see the game. And I feel like it was a more freeing feeling of like, I get to pursue like that next stage in my career.
So reinvigorating, almost in a way. And that was look, that was only like a couple minutes, which is a long, long time, by the way. 2 minutes is nearly an eternity.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate you. I do want to give you a chance before we
for sure.
Right, incredibly long. I mean, average is so much less than that.
Oh, I'm devolved, man. Sorry.
Well, no, I teed it up for you, and I'm glad you joined me on the ride there. Before we move on to the other two. Somebody in chat asked, I am reading chat, by the way, guys. If you have side questions, I can drop them in if they're good.
What if they're bad?
We're moving on. Somebody wanted a response. I believe ex-teammate FinoK used the word washed towards the end of the Leviathans check-in. Do you have a rebuttal?
I mean, my washed is better than most people's career peaks, so that's fine. I mean, it's all fun to like joke with those guys. I remember Ronnie had said something about like, he said it was like cringe that we banned their sub. Their sub was their best player that tournament. So like, what do you want from me, man? Don't look at me.
Don't hate the player.
Yeah,
hate the game. Understood. Yeah. So your peak is better than, or no, your valley is better than most other peaks, is what I'm gathering out of that.
Yeah.
Weird way of wording it, but I'm sticking with it.
It's a good way. I like that.
You guys are just saving me today. Nika, over to you. Especially you had been with that Oni Warriors squad. And you're still with 3 or 2 of those other teammates. Plenty of ups and downs over the course of the last couple of years. You had to do SPL qualifiers. You
Twice,
qualified in
right?
the Worlds,
no,
right?
Once.
But did have to do Worlds qualifiers.
Yeah, that's
right.
the one.
Did
that's
have to do that. Make it to Worlds. You have some downtime after the World Championship event. What is the mindset like at the end of Season 9 going into Season 10? Was there considerations of stepping away? Did you feel reinvigorated? Do you still have this fire for competing? I imagine being at Worlds with fans boosts that up a little bit.
I mean, my personal drive for the game like never really falls down.
Yeah.
Like I've never had like a period in my career since Season 3 where I've been like, I feel like stepping away or like not really trying as hard or anything. Like I just enjoy competing so much and just being around the game, and like streaming obviously like helps that as well, and like just being around the community. It's just a lot of fun to me, and I'd say it was very reinvigorating because I didn't really like enjoy how Season 9 went really,
right?
Especially off of the back of Season 8, which was like the COVID season where like our team was just screwed, and like it feels like individually I put so much effort into that year, and then it's like it was just like impossible to get much out of it.
Sure. And
it was kind of deflating a little bit heading into 9. We had some ups, but we had like a lot of downs. We couldn't really find consistency, and it was just like a bit like a mental strain, just trying to like figure out like how can we fix this like in time for Worlds, you know. And I feel like we got there eventually. Like we knew what we had to do, just couldn't execute it. I mean, the Dragons were definitely a well like polished team compared to where we were at, so it was kind of tough. But my mindset never changed. Like every season, I'm going to be looking forward to play for a couple of years at least.
Was it easy for you to team with Mike after the way that quarterfinal went?
Yeah, like I mean, I like
mostly joking, of course.
Like I told Mike myself, like he's always been, especially because me and Daughters have been teaming for like even longer than like me and Liam have been with him. Like out of like this, like Mike's always been a support we've wanted to play with, like if we could choose. And I like we told him that at like the after party and stuff, and he was like, he didn't even know that. So like teaming with Mike.
I said, "Where's my offer?"
Yeah, he literally said he was
I
like.
told you guys during these interviews, the after party keeps coming up. It's like where all the wheeling and dealing happens.
Yeah.
Like
drinks changes a lot, you know. Yeah.
So yeah, it was easy, and it's still been easy. I'm really enjoying like the different dynamic compared to other players I've been with.
If after party contracts are official, I'm actually the coach of a team right now.
Oh my god!
I don't remember how that happened. Zap and a few other guys were around, and I was just kind of standing there, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I could play this role. I could play this role." And I was all joking, of course. And I was standing there talking to them. They kind of looked at me and they're like, "This guy's not playing anything. You can coach us, I guess." And then so I'm the coach of that team. If all those handshake deals are official. Laz, how about you? I think you were with that Bolts. I guess Renegade squad for 3 or so years.
3 years.
You guys went on hot streaks. You won 11 something sets in a row, something like that. Make it to World Semis last year. Competitive spirit after Season 9 going into Season 10. Did you still feel it burning?
Yeah, I mean it's been high, always been high, and I think it's higher than it was before. Just getting a new environment, new teammates, and I don't know how to go through like the bowls and stuff, but we obviously had some issues. We had like a lot of different solo laners and stuff that came with, I don't know what the description would be, but it came with a lot of issues like within the team. And like all that has just been so frustrating, and now I get to join this team. We have like a core that's already played together, they know what's going on, and I get to join Mike as well. He's like one of the best supports in the league. And it's just like so different for my team because like I could probably just show up and just do nothing and we would do very great. And on the other team, it's like we had like a lot of communication issues and I don't know, people willing to learn, or like a lot of not rage, but I mean maybe throughout the early years of like Renegades and stuff, that'd be like actual team issues.
Right.
So now it's like I'm just very happy to be here.
Good. It's a good start to the year here in season 10.
Yep.
And we'll talk a bit about how this Jade Dragons team formed. And I'll disclaimer: anyone can be as spicy or not spicy as they want. Nika, with you, I mean, you guys, Dardes, Vote, you stick together. Was that always a known factor going into season 10? Did you always know, and you three know you were staying together?
So we knew, like, even before Worlds, that Neil and Fred were, like, stepping away, like, they were done. Neil just, like, wanted a break and, like, coach, and, like, he'll, like, reconsider maybe, like, even down the line. Fred, we knew he was done, so for us, the plan, like, every season has been, we want to play together as long as we can find people who we think are, like, the right pieces around it. But there's, always a scenario where, like, we could split up, like, if that makes the most sense,
Sure.
So yeah, like we obviously like went into it like Vote and Daughters. They're always like, it's up to me to like talk to people. Like they're just trolls when it comes to that kind of stuff. Even though they're like good at talking to people about it, they just like, yeah, just you talk to people, man, and like see what's happening.
For us, right? You're a package deal.
Yeah, so it's like for us, like we wanted to stay together. We had options that like in terms of like who we wanted, and we spoke to everyone, and like the after party was like the classic, like you just talk to people.
Oh, yeah.
Like we spoke to Mike. Like I didn't even see you there last, honestly. So like we like the junglers who were there, like Sino I spoke to a lot, and like he was just cooking some rosters. Like
guy,
like you just speak to a lot of people, like, and then like the day after we were like, yeah, like we definitely know we want Mike, like that's who we want to play with. And then like the jungler discussion was like pretty quick after that as well with Les, like after we spoke to him. And I think like there was one or two scenarios where like the trio could have broken up. I remember it was like Vote and Daughters could have been a 2 and I leave them, or like me and Daughters are a 2 and Vote leaves us.
Right.
But those were like in the back of our minds. Like we were like pretty confident that like, look, none of us think that like our trio has like a bad player. Like it's not like we're losing because we're like bad players, It's always been like team issues, I'd say. So we were just like super confident, like just to keep playing. Like we have no internal issues. So yeah.
Yep. Well, it's a fun trio to watch, and Mike, obviously we've heard. So I had Pagon yesterday. Talked to Final Kid just now. So I think that the Jade Dragons from last year, that roster swap has kind of been talked about heavily. But your prospect process is the word I'm going for specifically. Was it a pretty easy option for you, knowing you're slotting into a team specifically duo lane wise with Vote? Is that a player that you've had ideas, potentially desires to play with for a little while? Was that an easy decision for you?
Not quite. I mean, not like because of Liam.
I guess I'll play with him. Like,
no, not in that way. Like there's like the jokes about like the after party and stuff. I had family in Texas that I stayed to see after Worlds, so normally like the Monday right after Worlds is when a lot of people start actually like DMing each other, talking to each other and stuff.
Right, get some water in your system, Advil, food, go home.
I like very briefly entertained it with people, but I just wanted to spend time with family that day, so I was kind of like a day or two behind because I had to travel the next day as well. So I was like a day or two behind everybody in terms of like actually thinking about what I wanted. And to me, I kind of went back and forth with a lot of stuff, and when I had to like when I was on the flight, I did something where I was like, I just tried to like read through like old notes or like just think through stuff and like write it down, because it always helps me. And I kind of got to the point where I was like, every single one of Vote, Dardas, and Nika were players who I would rank very highly, like individual, of who I think I could like be interested in playing with, or who I think could work together. So it was kind of like a little. Well, I guess at first I had gotten back, talked to the old Dragons team, and we had kind of like tried to feel out how all of us were feeling. And then I had actually called the three of them on Discord, and that was like, it was a productive conversation.
Not just Nika, the other two were there
Nika,
too.
Dardas, and Vote.
Oh, nice.
And
you
somehow managed to get those two as well.
Yeah. Well, it was almost uncomfortable in a way, because it was kind of like a weird like interview back and forth with all of us. Yeah, because it was just like, my concern was because I had also been on a core that had been together for a very long time, right, with Max and Alec. The concern is how much of it is, are you used to each other? How much of it is the pieces around you, like that type of thing? And from the outside looking in, I had felt like a lot of their issues that I saw as a team was kind of with the absence of Cherry, who is, one of our coaches and was my coach last year. And Cherry was just like, I mean, he was like the SSG team in terms of like their voice, their leadership, their team atmosphere, everything. Like, with all due respect to the rest of them, like that's kind of what Cherry was known to be. And I felt like they were really missing that with Neil and Fred. I don't think either of them at that stage in their career were as passionately like assertive about like leading a team and trying to take charge of it. So for me, I just kind of wanted some sort of like comfort in knowing that I thought the three of them still enjoyed playing together, thought they could work together, didn't feel like they had any internal drama was something I was worried about, like any like resentment or spite or anything like that about like, Nika's like KSing every kill, costing us every game, like, vote trolls every scrim. Like, as long as I didn't hear anything like that, it was cool. So it was always an option that ranked very highly for me, was to play with those guys. And jungler was something that we had to try to figure out. And honestly, at first, like, I figured that Last was going to continue playing with like the Bolts core, some iteration of that. I thought most people felt like they'd probably have a new support, and then who knows with solo. But I actually I didn't even think that much of Last's availability until I called him like the next day or something. It was just me and him, and I've never been so impressed in like a 1 hour conversation with somebody as I was with Last. Like, it was just like everything he said, like if you had like if he knew everything I was gonna ask him like 5 days in advance and like took all this time to prep everything, like
it's interesting.
It was just perfect.
Because to me, I don't know, it's an interesting new dynamic to this, where there almost are like, I guess like player interviews in a way, where you're I mean, that's hoping I mean, it is a weird way to word it, because you guys are not dressing up in suits. But is the goal, to your point, to ensure there's no drama? Is there?
Well, it's like, because like just like when Mike spoke to us, like we had questions for him, just like he had questions for us, and like Last had questions for Mike and us, as we had questions for him as well.
What do those look like? Just what's your play style? What's your motivation?
Just
what are you ensuring?
Just like, how do you want the game to be played? Like, how open are you to like change, or like how you want to practice is a big one. Because obviously, like every play like varies with how they like want to practice in terms of like try-harding scrims, like being experimental, like taking it easy. Everyone's different when it comes to that stuff. So it's just making sure you're all on the same page, or like you're willing to like adapt to each other's ideas and just take everything on board. I'd say is like the big thing.
Yeah. Do you have something else?
Basically that.
Well, Laz, you clearly knocked the interview out of the park, right?
Can we not call it an interview? That's part of what I was gonna say.
No,
we gotta not call it that.
I'm
let's just go with it.
No, what's a better term? The
conversation.
Yeah, I would just say it's like feeling each other out sort of thing, because like,
was it in an office? Did you
just at home on the couch, just feeling each other out, just figure it out,
and it went really well.
Amazing, it was the best I've ever had, for sure. Well,
it's even longer than your answer at the start of the show.
Of course.
God bless.
No, to me it was like for Last, for example, it was a lot of like how the professionalism aspect of it went, like how much do you want to scrim? How do you do like a VOD review together? How do you want people like to show up in practice, to think about the game? Like, how like committed are you kind of thing? And then with them, it was more like, I guess like meta view of like, I had a lot of discussions with Cherry last year about how I saw the game, how I wanted to play the game, and how I feel like I didn't really have control or initiative to like see that come to fruition, I guess.
Yep.
So it was a lot of like seeing if those thoughts or ideas matched up, because you want to play with people who at least can understand the way you think. Something that I had with like Twig, for example, is like we didn't think the same way, but we were able to explain ourselves in a way that like we could have an argument or a debate about how to play the game, and we could reach a mutual understanding. And when you can't have that on a team, you're just screwed.
Yep.
You're doomed within a few weeks. Like, it's so bad.
And so it takes a nice sit down interview to figure that out. And so Laz, obviously these conversations were going on.
So
Was there ever a concern what team you would land on? Did you eye some of these guys to play with anyway? What was your free agency period like?
mine was, I don't even know how it started exactly, but obviously going into a year, you kind of have like certain players you want to play with. And for me specifically, going into this year, I was looking at certain supports because me and Jake didn't mesh that well. We had some issues, like just communication, how to play the game that Mike just explained. We just see like a little bit different, and like I think as a team as a whole, there'll be like some issues like that. So, and mainly towards Jake, not to put him on the burner. He's a great player, and I think he's shining even more when he's playing with people that he likes to be around, like his
different
friends.
mentalities. Sure.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm happy that they had a good start to the season. Jake's team, the Warriors. But we had some issues and stuff, so I was looking at supports, put that on my priority list, and then the rest of like mid laner, the carry and stuff. Like, yes, I have some priority, but they were like way less. But it started out with like the Bowls, me, Ven, and Barra. We kind of decided like, yeah, let's try and see if we can find a support on solo that wants to join us and with the players we want. And I talked a lot with Baskin as well. But he found himself on a team very early. But we wanted to team together. We had a lot of conversation what we wanted to do. Didn't go as planned, and he joined that team. And then if he wasn't to join that team, maybe he would have stayed on the Bulls if he could get us support. Didn't really work out. So we're still trying something at the Bulls, but it didn't really work out. And then Scream came to them, and like he wanted to join them. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do yet.
Yep.
So if you guys want to pick up Scream, I respect that and I understand it. And obviously, if you pick him up, I can't just come call him back. But I had some offers at the what's it called? The party, after party.
Yes.
Yeah, I had a team. I had a team that was like very interested in me, and there was Leviathans. They came up to me, said they want me. They like been surprised how I played this year, and they think that I would be a good fit.
Yep.
So I had that, and they were like waiting on me for a little bit. I talked with the Kings a bit. They didn't really want to rush into any decisions and stuff. Just like they just won. I don't want to. Like I have no like. What's the word? Like I can't rush them. They just won. They can stay together. They can pick up whoever they want.
Leverage.
Yeah. So I just talked a bit. They were like okay, interested. I don't know if you have seen the Hazer interviews, but they talked a little bit about it. That I would be like the new jungle option if that's what it came down to.
Yep.
And then I don't know. Not too many people contacted me or had like contact to many people. And then one day I just hit up Mike and said like, "Yo, you want to talk?" And then
yes,
I think it took. Don't. You want to interview? You want to interview me? And then it's like, and then I think it took like a day that he didn't like. You didn't show too much interest in the start, and then
Did I not?
I don't think so. I just texted you and you said like you're still waiting on the decision with I think that's the pagan.
So many games and dating.
Oh,
apps.
yeah, it was probably when I was traveling and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he was still like busy and stuff. I was still trying to figure out because I know that if I don't say yes to Leviathans or stay with the Bulls, somebody could take those spots. Then I could end up like somewhere necessarily wouldn't want to be.
Sure.
Or I would be out of the league. So I was like, I think Mike took like a day. Then we had a call. It went really well. Ended up getting in a call with the Warrior boys, but it wasn't exactly confirmed, and had to figure out if they wanted to pick up Penetum or me. And then at the same time, on the same day, I talked with the Kings, and I hopped in a call with them. And they're like, "Yeah, we don't want to make a decision that fast." So
Right.
it's all over
So
the
many
place.
moving pieces.
And then
it's
Leviathans
crazy.
are like trying to talk to me, and I don't want to put myself as like a loyal guy, but I'm like. I value like people that's loyal to me. I'm loyal to my teammates and stuff. So it was like a bit weird being on the same team for 3 years, and then I have like these options and all that. And I didn't want to like screw anybody over, but obviously I come first. Like
You have to. Yep.
yeah. So then I don't know. They talked as a team. Then they called me and said like, yeah, we want you. And I was like, hell yeah. Nice. and then like
Get it done.
an hour after or something, like. The Kings, I talked to them then, and I was like, I basically always say yes to the Warriors. Like, I just can't like entertain like the conversation.
Right.
So like, I don't know what would have happened maybe, but I would have kind of said yes to the Warriors.
Yep.
And
Well, clearly, it's worked out so far,
Yeah,
right? You guys do really well in the
awesome.
first tournament of the year. I feel like it feels like there's like an every other year, maybe every 2 year type cycle with these big like roster changey type things where teams kind of give the teams a couple years of effort, see how things go, and then change things around. I actually do want to talk a little bit about coaching with you guys because it's unique now from something that I've ever seen. Where if I understand the dynamic correctly, Cherio's a coach as well as Sam.
Yeah.
Right? And so Sam will be here for, is it LAN events? Is he here for SPL? How does that dynamic work?
So the like way we came to that is we had a meeting before Worlds last year about, this is how year 10 is going to look. Here's the format of the league. Here's some things that we want to do. And in that discussion, I had asked about whether Cherry would be allowed to coach or not. And at the time, I was told yes. And then I guess some things behind the scenes changed with like how they wanted to format the league and the coach role itself. And that had changed like in the middle of the first week of free agency. So I had pretty much told everybody throughout, those first few days of free agency of like, yeah, I really like want Cherry as my coach. I think if Cherry wasn't with me in some way, he would have been with, that core of like Darda's Vote and Nika in some way. So it's happened to work out that our interests were like pretty aligned in that regard. And Cherry just basically, the reason Cherry stopped playing SPL is he had to go back home and finish school, and he has military service that he has to fulfill. So he doesn't have that much flexibility to travel. So it also comes to like, sometimes he can't make every single scrim block. He does his best, but he will like work or go to school. Like last year he would go to school, come watch scrims, and then go to bed. Like rinse, repeat every single day. And it just, he's going to bed at like midnight his time.
A busy schedule, sure.
Yeah, so I think we wanted somebody, originally we just needed somebody who could show up at the tournaments. And then we had kind of talked about like, well, what if that person could actually, not just be a pretty face like Sam,
right? Physically,
and and actually be like helpful. And Sam's been great for that. Even
definitely.
Just kickoff tournament, Sam would literally come into the booth. He had a freaking notepad. He had a little map of like, here's where they're warding at this minute. Here's where they're warding at this minute. Here's like how they grouped at the start of the game. Here's some starts they did. Like he had so much, and he's only been. This is his first 3 weeks of being a coach, like through scrims and stuff. And Sam's been great. It's been really nice because Sam's a high level like ranked player. He's always
Marbach, by the way.
Yeah, Sam Marbach. Yeah, he's always like high level, master GM player. So we've all had him in our games forever, and it's nice to have like. I remember the first week we scrimmed, there was a call where like everybody like Lass and Dardas are like, yeah, they're coming duo, like their junglers rotated. I'm like, yeah, I know, I hear it. And I walk up to go contest a camp, absolutely die instantly for first blood, screws our game, we lose off of it basically.
Yep.
And Sam's like, hey Mike, like you remember when everybody told you that they were coming and then you acknowledged it and then you did it anyways? He's like, yeah man, that was really dumb. Like, is what it is, bro. Yeah. But yeah, it was so nice. He's like comfortable speaking right away, and then Cherry is Cherry,
and that'll never happen again.
It's
already
maybe it happened yesterday. Multiple.
It happened once a day.
Yeah, I think once a day is being generous. It's
once a game.
If I'm not running it, there's something wrong. I got a fever or something.
That's right. Do you think that's the mindset of this team? Are we running down? Are we W King? Do you think there's
no?
I think we are.
What is the identity of the Jade Dragons? Last year there was a lot of Jazzberry Jamming.
I think that's the cool part about the team. We can kind of do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Like we can run it down. We can make some good decisions. We can make some good calls. We have good synergy.
We can make some bad decisions.
Bad decisions, right?
Again, this is I say this all the time. This is no disrespect to anyone else on the team. Okay, everyone on this team, I have a ton of confidence in. We will go as Dardas goes, and that guy is a train wreck. That guy is an absolute idiot.
Oh yeah.
I have wanted.
What do you mean by that? Dardas runs the show in gameplay, picks and bans. What do you mean you go?
I've wanted to play. I think Dardas and I have wanted to play with each other for a while. I've always had a lot of respect for the way he plays the game, and there was like a play, like a good example, like yesterday in scrims or something. There was a play where I'm like, oh yeah, I can like CC this guy under tower. I'm like, oh yeah, I have a route for him or something. And Dardas is like, nah, don't worry about it. I'm like, I'm doing it. And I do it anyways, and I get the guy's beads. I type the timer. I'm like, okay, that's his beads. I see Dardas, bam, dash in the tower, instantly ints, dies. I'm just like, how do you go from telling me not to go into the tower to he's dashing, full committing in after the guy beats, and he just absolutely eats.
So it's everything you've dreamed of.
He's my, he's a beast. No, I think Dardas has one of the most unique god pools in the SPL. I think you can tell every set they play, most of their bans are targeted towards Dardas gods. It's the AMC, the Mori, all that type of stuff. On SSG prior years, it was Hera and Afro, and just I think he has a really good idea of not only like he has the ability to be a good individual player. I think he played support that way. He used to play a lot of very like selfish characters like Nox or Ares, where he kind of wanted to be the carry player. And it was kind of weird, like he transitioned to mid, and then suddenly he doesn't want to be the carry player. He's like understanding how his role facilitates people. So I think for me, a lot of the excitement is changing up, like, is Dardas the carry, is Nika the carry, is Vote the carry, is Last, like having flexibility in drafts of like Last knows how to be a facilitator, or he can play, like a Daji and solo people late game and do whatever, or he can play, Osiris and Erlang and Gilgamesh for 9 straight months and just absolutely run it. So like,
please no.
Bring it
just
back.
To be clear, I think you're great at it.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that jungle meta.
So like that, I think that flexibility between all of us is really nice. Nika's pad, he's been around. Any solo laner that's been around for a while, right? Except for maybe Variety, they played some assassins, some mages, and whatever. And then same thing with Liam. That guy is a ranked monster. So I think the flexibility on the team is what I really like, and it's like selfless flexibility. Like we'll play different comms, and we won't feel like we need all of the farm to carry the game, and that's really nice.
What's your read, Nika? You've been with that Oni Warrior squad for a little while.
Yeah,
still with the core, but this new team, you get, I assume, a bunch of scrims and now one event in with the Jade Dragons. Did you read some more to Mike? You like the flexibility? What's some early indicators for you?
Yeah, I mean it's weird. Me, Daughters, and I think Liam as well was saying it. Like it feels so similar to every team we've been on, but to like kind of like a next level, just based off the flexibility and like the amount of like communication that Last and Mike bring, like individually, and then they also like bring out of us as well. I think it's just something that just allows the team to play just whatever way we want, really. And like having like Mike didn't even talk about his god pool. Like he plays
too
like
humble for all that, right?
He plays some of like the most annoying like mage supports and stuff. Like it's just like another like win condition that you can like play off of. And I think it's so cool having a team that can like, first of all, any meta, like they can adapt to like whatever's good, but then also a team that can just be annoying like the whole year based on like Lass's picks or like Mike's picks or Dada's picks. And and then it's also just been a very troll experience as every year has been. I mean, honestly, Mike, you had that 3-day streak. I'm not gonna say it.
Were you just in a mood for 3 days?
Okay, you're talking about this week, right?
It's been every week.
You know, like the 2 days where you pick that one character first pick every game and absolutely ran it.
I'll give a little bit of context here. I'm not going to say the character, okay?
Sure.
I got to a point where I'm like, guys, like I don't know if any of them, like they probably haven't had anyone other than maybe Cherry do this. So like I was like, guys, we suck at this. I don't think you guys have ever really been that good at this. I'm going to play this character every single game and make you learn how to do this with me. And I absolutely ran it down.
We didn't learn much. I'll say that for now.
We did the first 2 days. The first 2 days were good. It got a little rocky, in the third one.
When you get tired,
that one scrim, that's the kind of scrim you should release at the end of a season, because it was
You're talking about the game 4 of the first day, right?
Yeah, when it was.
We kept. Yeah.
Do you scrim best of 5s?
Well, I like to.
You have a block and then you go.
I like to just go until the other team is exhausted.
No. So you got stamina.
Typically for me, it's a 3-hour block, like we do from 11 to 2 or like 1 to 4. But sometimes it's a bit
just
less,
have a mini games you can fit
after,
in.
But recently, a lot of teams have been very late, not showing up. We should show up when the scrims are in the books.
Well, not just physically, mentally. I want them alert mentally at the start.
Right, because they're going to be when they come in a studio to play you guys, and you want the full experience, right?
Well, I just think it's better for everyone in the league. We all Just, be a professional.
Yeah.
Really, and if you look at each tier, it's all an ecosystem, right? If you guys show up to scrims prepared, that means the SPL matches are better, and then if the SPL matches are better, that means viewership is better, and so it's really for the good of the league. And I'm sure they know who you're talking about, Laz.
It's everybody except for the Ferryman so far. Literally everyone except for the Ferryman. The Ravens get a small pass. Okay, the Ravens get a small pass because they had to bounce back and forth between the patch. It was patch day, and they were just a little late downloading it. But then the next day, Haddix is doing his UI for 20 minutes, and screw that guy.
He's got to get it figured out. If you want his best, his UI's got to be the best.
He changed 2 things.
Maybe it takes that long to change 2 things. Let's look at the divisions if we can. Let's think a little bit about it. And the way that Phase 1 is working this year is obviously different from how we've done stuff in the past. We've in the past just straight up done double round robins, whatever. You look at standings, move forward. Now we got Order Division and Chaos Division, and so you end up in Chaos with the Oni Warriors, who you just faced in the finals. Overall thoughts: you play your division twice, the other division once. It's a new look for how a phase is going to get run here in the SPL. Any early thoughts on this type of format from you guys?
It's pretty cool. I mean, I think our bracket is probably a little bit stronger than the other one.
Yeah, which division is better?
Chaos.
You think?
Really, I think the Order division's better.
I mean, we're in Chaos, so we're the better.
I'd say the Order is more stable and just that consistent level is probably a little higher, but the Chaos one is just the ceiling is way higher, I'd say.
Are you immediately rivals with the Oni Warriors because of what happened at kickoff tournament? I know it was the biggest tournament you guys have played in recently in the last couple of years.
Yeah,
it was a fun tournament to play.
Yeah, it was a good time.
I think it was a good early look, and actually I felt obviously some teams probably didn't show up and perform as well as they had hoped. I think the Hounds really surprised me because in the past the qualifier teams have not done well, right? If you think of the teams that, although I guess Oni Warriors is a different example, but a couple of the lower teams in the past, right? Yeah. I mean, there's sort of been a steep drop off, and it could end up playing out that way later on in this year. Were there any surprises from you guys after one weekend of games based on how scrims went, how games at that event went? Did the Oni Warriors overperform from what you were expecting?
They were definitely scrim. I mean, I think the feeling from most of the league is that they were the scrim gods. We scrimmed them once, and it was it
was just fun.
Yeah. It was just
just back and forth, just pretty random picks, but everyone was having a good time, and that was probably the scrim session, which I guess kind of foreshadowed how they would play in the tournament for us anyway. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I don't know how it went with the division, but I'm definitely surprised. I think Ravens was last pick, maybe.
Yeah, they were.
They were selected in last.
Yeah,
I think Gladiators just before them.
Yeah,
and then when it comes to performances, again, obviously people should turn up to an event and do their best, but the event didn't mean that much, and some teams have maybe not scrimmed as much, whereas Hounds and Glads, they come in strong. They just played the play-ins. They've been scrimming. Yeah. They've been maybe understanding the meta a little bit more, and played a lot of games compared to some of the other teams. But yeah, I don't think there's anything too surprising, because Warriors, the meta, how it is right now with individual performances and how you can play the map, it's just kind of meta for the Warriors too, and they're obviously individual monsters when it comes to mechanics.
Yeah, how much. How much do you base expectations, and maybe how much do you think viewers should base expectations for the year? I mean, on one weekend, that's a little more dramatic when I word it that way. But
viewers can't really make their mind up. It's first the tournament doesn't matter, and then it's whoa, these teams are the best, or this team sucks, and it's for yourselves as players, for an event like this, I feel you can't really take too much. Mm-hmm. I viewed it as just more focused and serious practice to me. So I really enjoyed the tournament. I kind of wish every team viewed it that way instead of nice, we lost, we got a weekend off.
It's
just
so lame.
Just show up and just have a serious scrim block, and actually learn and improve. So for me, it's just the teams we played, it was just really good sets of competitive practice, and I can just tell the league is going to be pretty close, especially with how the divisions are laid out.
What if you kind of rewind, you look at that event, how scrims things have been going, what do you think the biggest challenge for the Jade Dragons is going to be this year, and maybe what do you think your strongest asset is as a team if you're looking towards, obviously the goal is to win worlds, right? Win tournaments. What do you think the team has the most to work on, the most area to grow, and where do you think you imagine your strong suits will be by the end of the year?
Less trolling.
Yeah. I think like not necessarily like laziness in game, but just like I guess like a lapse in concentration when it comes to like fundamental stuff. Like all of us just like slip up a lot early game at the moment. But I think that comes with just being like early in the season that like you're still like kind of like ramping up. That's just like something that's been like happening in scrims, and like everyone's aware of it. Like it's not like a mystery.
Sure.
Like even in drafts and stuff, it's like sometimes the same. But in terms of good, I mean, I think it'll just always be the flexibility.
Yeah.
And like the direction that these two can offer, especially to the team.
Yeah, I think the good is the communication, and like if there's something wrong, I think we can fix it by communicating to each other and talking. So far, there's been a lot of talks, and people bring up like points, like with us after a set, after practice, or before practice. That's something like very new to me. That having like teammates, especially Mike, he can talk for days, man.
Yeah.
And it's nice, and I read everything
it
it says, and like I come with my like points sometimes. Sometimes I just read it and maybe show the scrims and like ask a few questions about it or something, which is nice. Because I think like just talking or thinking about the game outside the game is kind of important. And then I don't know what the other question was, but I was saying something about drafts. Like I think once we figure out how exactly we want to draft, and like obviously the meta and stuff is maybe going to change a little bit, but I think we figure that out, because right now we are trying a lot of stuff, and sometimes we try some guards that are just bad guards, and we pick them for some
Sometimes
reason.
it's 3 games in a row, you know, and it's Mike first.
No,
pick.
3 days.
3
in a row.
days.
I'm talking 12 games in a row.
no.
He picks a good guard, and we can draft a come around it, but somehow we end up with some guards that are just like
Everyone
no
just griefs
pressure,
it.
does nothing, and the guard is just bad. And
You're
I'm
like, how did we get here?
Why am I sitting here? Why am I sitting here playing my OP guards, and you guys are picking that?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Fair.
Yeah, for I don't know. For me, I think a lot of it will be more draft focused or idea based, I guess. Like I think my previous teams, unsurprisingly, were, I mean, even going back to like United, I just think we have better side laners than people. Like I just think at that time Benji and Panda Cat just outclassed everybody, and like we could just roll off any team or roll over any team, I mean. And then, you know, same thing, United later in season 5, and we had Baskin. I feel like we probably were the best mechanical team in the world, and then I just felt like that sort of identity kind of always went of like very like high skilled individuals who I think like could carry a game and take over. I just don't think that's not a winning formula long term, like against smart teams. I mean, I think we saw that in 2 finals in a row. I think we came in to both those, at least the Ghost tier, like heavy favorites. And to me, like there's some issues I've always had with how people approach the game, the way they view drafts, the way you view like, you know, laning phase, teammates, all that type of stuff, transition in. So for me, it's more of a kind of like a top-down like brain thing for me of like how we think and how we approach the game. I think will be our strong point. I think the weak point, kind of as Last said, will be to some extent like trolling or focus. I think right now it's a little hard with Darda still being in France. I think he's someone who I at least will rely on pretty heavily in terms of like how I want to play the game with him. He is a big like focal point of how I want to draft and how I want to play in game. Just, you know, support mid laner always have that sort of synergy, I think. So like him being in France, he's sometimes like not as engaged as he could be, or sometimes he's just like, just ping diff, you know, like what are you gonna do? And I'm really looking forward to get him here. And I also want to right now they're all in a house. Darda's is in France, I'm at my apartment. I want to get it set up where we all have a scrim room at their house, so I can actually go talk to like,
work.
Yeah, exactly. Talk to them like face to face, and I think it'll bring up some intensity and energy. I've really been missing that. I don't miss living with everybody in a team house, but
need your space. Yeah,
I'm back on my BS, as I'd like to say. Like it's been a couple years since I whipped out the mega doc and started spamming text chats and everything, and
this is good.
I'm back.
Do you have Do you have one big team group text?
We use just a Discord channel.
Yeah, but he has his own channel where he just floods it with
What's the name of the...
Mike BS. I have 2 channels. One's Mike BS, and then the other one is just a locked channel that only me and Cherry can see. So
really?
I will.
And you guys are okay with this?
We all have that.
Yeah.
Oh, just you alone with Cherry?
Cherry will use it like if we're in the middle of. It's actually really nice because like in the middle of scrims, he'll use it to like type a note to you that doesn't have to waste time like after the game, so that you can keep like team talks, or we'll all rate like we'll scrim and we'll rate like how good we think the draft was.
Yep.
And then he'll be able to compare contrast like how everybody sees the game or whatever. Anyways, I have like 4 mediums of communication. It's general Discord chat. I spam. That applies to everybody. Everybody needs to be on top of that and reading that. Okay, I'm that and everybody in that. Then I have
They're getting the red dot. You don't want the white dot. You want the red dot notification.
Then I have the Mike BS channel. Okay, this one is very important. This one is for when I'm just brainstorming by myself. I wake up middle of the night and I'm like, bam, let's do that. I just flood that real quick.
Will it happen all hours of the day? Have you guys noticed
I remember I was streaming at like 1 a.m. and I checked the Discord and there's like 6 paragraphs. And I'm like, yo, Mike, I would love to read this right now, but it's 1 a.m. I'm like 5 hours deep into ranked. I just cannot process this right now. It's just too much.
And now I'm only through 2. The third one is a locked channel with Cherry.
Yep.
That'll be, that'll be more like near-term stuff, scrims. And then I have my whispers with Cherry, and this is where stuff really goes down. This is me and Cherry, full brainstorm session. I could talk to that guy for hours. It would never end. Like, if I played with Cherry, it would have been the biggest treat ever.
That's why you want him as a coach so bad, right?
We would scrim for 3 hours and talk for 10. It would have been a dream.
He's very like I remember when me and Cherry were like living together for one of the seasons. Like every night would end with like a 3-hour talk about like something to do in scrims or something. And it's just like one person would just be like, "We have to stop. Like this is too much. Like go for too long. Go back to your room." Yeah,
Well, it's probably nice to. I mean, obviously, all these guys have a great mind for the game, but maybe someone who is similarly as big a nerd for Smite, and I mean that in the best way possible. You know what I mean? Like when I find someone.
Dave, do you believe in soulmates?
I don't think everyone has one, but I think you. Sure. Yes.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I see Cherry.
Right. That's what I mean. Right.
Like there's some we have the most different backgrounds, childhoods, right? Like he's from Egypt. I'm just some random like United States East Coast kid. Like met each other through like Smite and stuff. We are like so different, but think so similarly on Smite. It's like a fever dream. I don't get it. Like I love it. It's so fun.
It seemingly is working. I'm gonna rattle off a couple rapid fire questions before we round out the interview. We'll breathe some air into this place because it is warm.
It is.
Who's the most Jade Dragon do you think on the team? Say we put you guys through a bunch of challenges.
Surely only 2 people can win this.
Okay, what's your argument there before I go on?
I'd love to hear the criteria first.
All right, my criteria is it's a bunch of competitions centered around being a dragon. So eating hot sauce because you breathe fire. That can be one. Who do you...
I clear that.
Me and Mike.
Yeah, we clear that for sure. But me, though.
Flying. Who do you think is least afraid of heights and would be most willing to jump off of a tall diving board? Something like that.
One of those 2.
What else are dragons good at? Having scales and being... strong. Have you seen the boxing thing where they lift their arms and they get whacked in the stomach with like a piece of wood? Who do you think has the toughest skin?
I don't want to try it. I don't.
So you're scared? I'll do it. I'm not scared.
But we got to do rankings on all this stuff. So like if somebody finishes first in hot sauce eating and then second in like the wood the scales challenge, like they're still the most dragony dragon. So like you don't get voted based off each individual thing. It's a ranking system through a bunch of events. So if we're doing heights, hot sauce, and scales, toughness, who do you think is the most dragony dragon?
Are we ranking each
I'm
category?
putting myself in the top 2.
Just you can if you want, but one answer for who you think.
I mean, I feel like the only 2 people who could be the most Jade Dragon is either me or the guy who has the suit, and that's Sam.
Right. Sam did come in.
Yeah,
it's very dragony.
It has to be either me or Sam. I feel like.
That's pretty easy. It's Sam.
I think Liam.
I think it's Sam.
I think Liam has lost on every single one potentially.
Liam Dardas are definitely bottom 2 for sure.
Understood. Well, we're gonna have to work on that at some point.
Spice isn't that common in French cuisine, right? Is it common in Egypt? I don't know. I'll have to ask this.
It's gotta be, right?
I
My
think,
initial guess is yes.
I think so
but
too.
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I went to France over New Year's and ended up like only eating Italian food actually. So it was like
That's really good doing, man.
I don't know. There was like a pizza place right around the corner of where we were staying.
That's awesome.
And I had a sandwich in the morning. Have you ever had a croque monsieur? Have you ever had one of those?
What is it?
Ugh.
No.
I don't really know. I don't know what's really on the outside, but it's basically a ham and cheese inside, but then they wrap it in some other type of cheese and melt that.
Ooh.
And so it's a
So it's just cheese.
It has like a flaky pastry, I think, as well.
That sounds good.
yeah, it's really really good. And there was a little bakery next to the bus stop that we took to the mountain every day.
French bakeries have got to be goated. They gotta
Incredible.
be. Yeah.
I felt like I was in a movie. You know, I walk in, a nice old lady cracks the loaf and there's steam coming out of it, and then somebody's drinking a tiny cappuccino in
That's
the corner.
awesome.
It was unbelievable. And then I came back to the U.S. and there were 6 McDonald's in the airport, and I had to choose one. It was really difficult. I'm like way off the rails at this point, which is good because we're close to rounding out. Who do you think on this team gets, not first blooded, but gets the most first bloods by the end of the year?
Me.
Less.
He plays a broken
He's
role.
jungle.
Yeah, he's a
That's
broken
just what he
role.
does.
Yeah.
So
I'll make
they're-
sure that I lasted every kill I can last.
Most first-blooded daughters on Mike, 100%.
Me by a mile.
Mike.
No, you'll be surprised how much daughters just like doesn't care about
I made
dying,
I
even
made
if
a
it's
joke
dead.
to my teammates last year when we had picked up Sprack. I wanted to rival Harry. Harry or Variety has had a pretty long-standing record of like every split he's the most first-blooded player, and I tried to give him a run for his money last fall split. It was really, really difficult, and I literally brought back an invade meta. I started it to try to beat him at it, and I still couldn't do it. He's on another level.
One day the invade meta will come back. I've been trying to just wrap my head around the starts.
It never left.
Right now, with how everyone's splitting the harpies and every team's doing something different there.
Yeah.
That's my homework for the next few months.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks guys for sitting down with me. I'm excited to see what the Jade Dragons get done this year. It seems like there's a good mindset and mental health aspect around this team.
And
so I
everybody
think-
hates Stardust.
I love them.
But like,
How can you hate them?
with a wink, yeah, everyone hates Dardes. You got to no wink from Mike. Excited to see Dardes here in the States. I think it'll be awesome here for this team. Excited to see what the Jade Dragons get done here in Season 10. That's Mike. That's Nika. That's Lasbra. My name's Dave. Shout out to Advanced GG, one of our sponsors here in Season 10 of the SMITEPro League. And this has been the Team Check-In with the Jade Dragons.
And shout-outs to you, the fans.
You can shout them out if you want. Go
And
ahead.
shout-outs to you, the fans.
That's right. Shout outs to
Yeah.
you, the fans. All right.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.